Welcome to the OddsFitness Podcast. I'm Asad Hussain, the founder of OddsFitness. We at OddsFitness help individuals maximize their health span and also achieve their true fitness potential. With my formal education in exercise and sports sciences and also in lifestyle and wellness coaching, we bring to you the most data-driven insights from industry experts who specialize in the Asian and the Middle Eastern populations. These experts have significant experience considering our distinctly different variable factors such as genetics, phenotypes, cultural and environmental influences and habits. These factors contribute to the most common and consistent risk factors for lifestyle-related diseases and health and fitness challenges in South Asia and the Middle East. While there is a wealth of data and content available from the West, much of it becomes irrelevant when applied to our context, as the dynamics here are vastly different. So let us begin. And today here with me, we have Dr. Sottas, who is also somebody who's well known in the field of longevity. His formal education has been I was very impressed with his education profile in physics, in biology, and he also holds a PhD in artificial intelligence. He's known for his pioneer work on the athlete biological passport. He's the CEO of xLongevity, based in Switzerland. As you all know, Switzerland is known for its high life expectancy, right? And he comes right from the center of that space where he's been exposed to India. He's well traveled. He's well exposed to what the deficiency is of everybody's lifestyle. Disease related or epigenetic factors would probably factor in when it comes to overall longevity and health span. And today we'll delve into his insights on biohacking, personalized health, and the future of longevity. Welcome, Dr. Sottas.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the encouragement.
Right. So I was looking at your profile and I was deeply curious as to how you translated from physics to biology to AI. So could you shed some, let's say, light on what's happening in that curious mind, right? And how you want to bring the 3-4 things together. From my experience, the last time I heard this was when Steve Jobs, he did a course in calligraphy, I believe, and then he went on to be, the CEO of Apple, and then he integrated the two, and Apple has one of the most beautiful fonts that we see. So could you just, take us through that journey as to how you went from?
Yes, I think I would never compare myself to Steve Jobs. Thank you for that. So that's not just because I'm someone really hyperactive and really love to learn. So when I was young and I was switching from some lessons from quantum physics to molecular biology.
Wow.
And that's how I started. And then in the 90s, there were actually artificial intelligence that was starting, and I was fascinated by that field, and I did my PhD in it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you think knowing physics and biology and AI puts you in a position to understand certain things better than just experts of their various domains?
Actually, I see some advantages to have a multidisciplinary background, because I feel very comfortable to go to any kind of conferences. I do understand the speakers when I would say scientific conferences. And when talking about, for example, in the engineering field, how mass spectrometer works, I do understand, and then switch into molecular biology. On the other hand, I still have a bit of frustration because I'm no expert in any field. So that's why I'm back in very early 2000s. I decided more to actually that's a goal in my life, that or more how to translate good science into practice. Yeah.
Right. So what inspired you to address longevity and anti-aging, so to speak?
Yeah, that's okay. For me, longevity again is a big word, but I spend all my life is how actually we can help people to live better, healthier, now longer. And I will say more about longevity itself afterwards. But it's how we can actually collect information on our body, and then how we can interpret this and give actually this idea of personalized, not medicine, but personalized biology. Then it came the biological passport, that we can collect information on you and provide the right and the right conventional lifestyle or interventions.
Wow. Could you tell our audience once what is the athlete biological passport so that they know what exactly it is?
Yeah, that I would say, because it's the name biological passport come from the athlete biological passport, but all the concept behind how you collect data is something that is actually has several applications more than in the field of sport. And here the athlete biological passport consists the monitoring of all world elite athletes. And now I had a position at the World Anti-Doping Agency leading this program where we're monitoring all world elite athletes. And that was in the 2000s. But even before that, when after living more the academic world and working, trying again to translate all the science that I learned during the 90s, it was the first application was on simply the cancer diagnosis. Here, how I can actually diagnose cancer early. And this means that, you collect information, and not only, the concept of personalized medicine, I've never been a big fan. I'm more big fan of personalized biology, is that, actually you can personalize the signal that you have in your body. And for that, AI is a great thing. It helps a lot. And then the application is that, for example, I work in the field of clinical trials. When you have biomarkers of safety and efficacy, in the clinical trials, you have a drug that's with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That's all the development to assess basically safety and efficacy. But the key thing is that as soon as you have some baseline things on you, you measure something on you, and there's something actually you're personalized, because we have to understand that everything we measure on human bodies, I would say 90% of what we measure in our bodies has tendency to remain stable. Yes, there are variations over time about the circadian rhythm or over years as well. But if we measure actually a group of people today, we measure the same group of people in 1 year. For most biomarkers, they will be very similar. But the difference between the people, so the inter-individual variability, is much higher. So why, for me, when I started to the biological passports, this something that's in my head was not right. That's why in the 60s we were defining reference ranges based on the population, knowing what you measure in your body, actually something so personal. And that's why I developed the tools based on AI. It was called Bayesian networks at that time, or machine learning stuff. Actually, you can personalize and then have much more, I would say, precise, accurate recommendations on lifestyle, yes. So the first application is more in the field of clinical trials, in the prevention of diagnosis of cancer. And then, yes, back in 2005, I was in Lausanne, close to the IOC, the sport movement, and the World Anti-Doping Agency. And very rapidly, there was strong demand. First, anti-doping, because there's a lot of doping. And actually, it's pretty easy to detect doping with the biological passport, because by definition, when you want to increase something, you want to increase your hemoglobin, just say if your hemoglobin as the main point, as a surrogate of doping, it's called indirect biomarkers. And that's why the antibody process has been a huge success in the field of sport.
Wow. Just to add a little context to your ideas, your thought process, you mentioned Bayesian methods of, understanding situations. And I understand there are two schools of thoughts, the Bayesian and the frequentist, right?
Yeah.
What inspires you to be a believer of the Bayesian methodology and ideology?
I'm a bit opinionated on that, and a big fan of Bayesian inference, and always see more the frequentist approach as a reductionist, a kind of simple form that miss something. As soon as you have information, and any kind of type of information, you have to use that information. Why you will not use prior information that coming from studies and that you collect something on you? No. We have knowledge about all these biomarkers, for example, change in human beings, a lot of studies. So use this prior information. And that's when you move from prior information to posterior information, you actually update information. That's Bayesian thinking. And this idea of Bayesian inference, I think, is critical in to find difference between, for example, correlation and causality. This kind of thing. I've always been a big fan of Bayesian.
Do you think that our traditional ways of thinking, would they stand a better chance in, let's say, diagnosing certain diseases or predicting certain diseases by Bayesian approaches to inferring data or updating studies or even conducting studies for that matter?
Yes, I just want to take one example is that with Bayesian logic, suppose, and I take an example of a very practical one, a clinical trial. I take the example again of hemoglobin. You measure hemoglobin, and suppose that you have a drug that you like to improve anemia. So as someone has a low hemoglobin, but use that as a baseline. And just the fact you use as the baseline with the tools using Bayesian inference, knowing the variation of hemoglobin between people or over time, things like this, you can remove with one single point up to 80% of the inter-individual variations. So you come usually, you know that the reference ranges of hemoglobin are really wide. Sure, you can actually try to see, a woman has 1.6 less gram deciliter than men. Here, they can do some stratification. The stratification is already the first step actually of personalization. But then you have one baseline on you. It takes all actually aspect of your life, and then you can really personalize and rapidly move from population reference ranges to personalized one. And 80% of variation are removed at one single point, thanks to Bayesian logic. For frequentist approach, we need 6 points like this. This means an extremely efficient approach, actually, with limited amount of data, not the data that we have here now nowadays, but back in the early 2000s, that was a very efficient approach to tackle this kind of things.
Right. Wow, amazing. So do you think everybody should have a biological passport?
Yeah, the new biological passport has few applications, but the idea behind is that, yes, to measure our body is something I do promote very heavily, especially now that people to change the mindset, to start to have a good lifestyle. Now my company xLongevity, we have, I would say, complex things that really help people to move forward, but we start with the basics. I always say first get the basics right. And the basics right, the 5 pillars of longevity: nutrition, diet, sleep, community, mindfulness. Get the basics right, and then you can actually start to do something else. And when to get the basics right, yes, learn about your body, and just some very simple measurement on you can give you the motivation to start something. Yeah.
You didn't speak of exercise amongst those 5. Is there?
Sport, yes, second one. No, I missed that one.
You did? Did you say that?
Yes, I think.
Or maybe I missed. Right.
No, that's the second one.
Right.
Yes, but without actually, there's no preference over nutrition, exercise, sleep.
Correct.
Correct. For sure. But the best biohack we may have is exercise.
Right. Okay, so earlier when I was speaking to you, you said in the 90s, India had access to much better food, and that's now changed.
Yes.
And that's led to a lot of lifestyle disorders. So what do you think has changed? We talked about industrialization, getting costs cheaper, providing for a larger population. How can somebody in India source better food? And what can they do in order to, let's say, prevent the damage that comes from, let's say, lower quality food, etc.?
Yeah, again, that's really about the basics. Again, the basics: processed food, whole food. But we can do then a bit more, actually give more granularity. And even here is that in India, there's so many carbs, carbohydrates, sugar everywhere.
Yeah.
And even for me, when I'm home in India, I love Indian food, but it's become tough to find actually good food. And also, I would say the amount of protein we can get per day is not enough. I'm not talking about difference between vegetarians or non-vegetarians. I think I apply to both. But also, I would say some wrong messages that have been provided to the population as well. Not only about, I would say, again, as you rightly said, decrease the cost. And for sure, it's so cheap to produce carbs. And carbs, also these kind of things, is that actually activates a lot of dopamine and other things in your brain. There's a wonderful study done in mice that there was cocaine, there was sugar, there were other drugs. And which one actually, the one actually you really want?
Sugar.
It was sugar.
Right. I know that study. They also did one on mice where they removed the taste buds and they gave them glucose enriched or sugar, sweet water, and they give them regular water. And without taste, they would always prefer the water which had sugar infused because it would automatically give the mice dopamine, right?
Exactly. But I come back to something we discussed before. It's about, okay, what was promoted back in the 80s and 90s when I came here in India in the 90s. It was, but still, I would say less applied. I think it's a paradox here. It's more applied now. It's about this famous 70-20-10 about the famous micronutrients, carbohydrates, 70%, 20% protein, 10% lipids, only fats. But now I'm more a fan of the other one. Not promoting only keto, but actually try to decrease the amount of carbohydrates, or at least try, I say, a diet that is slightly lower than what your metabolism needs as part of energy, of calories, but high in proteins. Yes, you really need your amino acids, and everyone knows about minerals. Everyone knows about vitamins. I take my vitamins in the morning. Do you say someone to take my amino acids? No, you should take your amino acids. They're at least as important as say, oh, magnesium involved in 200 pathway. Yes, for sure. Get your magnesium right. But glycine, it's about the same. But people don't know about glycine.
Right.
And that's what amino acids are part of the four classes of micronutrients is the one that people don't know much about. And these are protein.
Right. And protein, of course, is a macronutrient, as we all know. And, macro meaning a larger group of nutrients, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. So essentially, I've heard of a lot of people who want to keep away from protein because the narrative was until very recently that protein also leads to kidney damage. But then I tell them the same thing. Your kidneys are essentially, trying to filter stuff. And you see more kidney damage and more nephron damage from elevated blood glucose levels as opposed to protein and excess protein, so to speak. And it's very hard to have excess protein because, they're auto-inhibiting when it comes to consumption. So you feel fuller with proteins, but not as much with simple carbohydrates. You can have them.
That's many studies that show it can go 2.5 grams, which is huge, 2.5 grams of protein a day per kilo. And it's close to no issue.
No adverse effects. Yes. Right. What would you say are the most critical biomarkers that an individual should monitor when it comes to optimizing their health span?
Yeah, that's okay. That's the most interesting one. Actually, I'm a bit biased because my lab is one of the first to develop it, but is NAD. NAD plus is famous molecule, nicotinamine. Then was in nucleotides, a big name. And I'm a very, very big fan of NAD plus tests here because NAD is the limiting factor in the production of energy, of ATP. It's an excellent marker for mitochondrial function. Even more, it's an excellent marker of your metabolism in the wall. And NAD plus is coming in the field of longevity, but actually as part of one of the first to develop a test of NAD plus, realized, there are a lot of young people, it's crazy low NAD levels. And that's the one we had actually metabolic disorders, as well. So this one is not known in the population. Medical doctors, you cannot go in somewhere and ask for an NAD test. It does not exist. It's really in the field of longevity that is coming. Why? Because NAD plus is decreasing in the first decade in your 20s by 30%. Yeah. It looks a large number, 20%, but actually if you have a metabolic disorder, it can decrease by half actually, even more than that. I've seen some crazy low numbers of NAD plus in the cells. So I'm really a big fan of not only that molecule, and we can discuss about why in longevity in general it's good to have high NAD levels, but about this test.
Right. So, from what I recall, there was a study which said that in terms of efficacy, they did not find NAD. I could be wrong. To be that valuable as a supplement or a nutrient.
Oh, if you mean actually NAD plus itself, yes. I don't recommend to take NAD plus. NAD plus is, relatively to, I would say, micronutrients, it's a large molecule. It's not large as a protein, I would say, but the nucleotide is pretty large. Right. And because it's large, it cannot cross the membranes. It cannot cycle into the cells. It cannot access the mitochondria. That's the mitochondria that need the NAD+. It's not actually in the serum, in the plasma. So if you do by any means, actually, you take some NAD, it can be infusions. There are many means now actually to do it, is a nasal spray, thing like this, of NAD+. It needs a specific transporter. And by default, we don't express this transporter into our cells. That means that if you take an NAD and you don't have this transporter, which is only expressed in case of inflammation, NAD+ will not enter your cells. Okay, that's excreted. That's why I always say that we should not go against the biology. The biology said, hey, how actually the biology is made to get good NAD levels into your body. Good food, good exercise.
Correct.
Okay, it's tryptophan. It's an amino acid, again. Vitamin B3, nicotinamide, the name, it's a vitamin B3. And really about the building blocks. You get the building blocks that can cross the membrane inside the cells that are really great enzymes that are very functional. These enzymes do still work when people are centenarians. They still work and they can build NAD+ within the cells. And the injection within itself is not something I do promote. I would not say that this transporter is called connexin 43 is mostly expressed in cancer cells for NAD. Here and there's still some actually studies that believe more studies are required in that field. That's why I'm not surprised that when you do NAD, I would say studies with NAD, that you don't feel an effect. But when you do with the precursors of NAD, especially the one that is right before NAD, just need single enzymes, NMN, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a wonderful one.
No, that makes a lot of sense because you know how companies and corporations are. They would push, I don't know, glutathione, poor bioavailability if you take it through a capsule,
Zero, close to zero.
Maybe carnitine falls in the same bracket as well, or?
Carnitine is the bioavailability carnitine is pretty good. Yes,
it's fine even if you consume it?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe I was wrong with that, but definitely glutathione.
Oh, no. Close to zero,
Right. So that's very valuable insight. So you would say NMN would be a great supplement to consume if, somebody is trying to increase their NAD levels in their body.
Again, I had this chance to develop on the first NAD test, and as part of development, and then the 10 of thousands of people that we tested, clearly would say, when you take NMN, this increase. And also I do the other way around. I use the test to optimize actually the bioavailability of an NMN product. Here, because I had the chance. Okay, should I actually, when I started xLongevity, very young company, only 1 month old, less than 1.5, I say, okay, I want to help people to have more NAD levels. First, get the basics right. Get actually enough B3, tryptophan. Okay, there's other tools that you can do. There's famous actually NMPT is a big word again, but if you do cold bath, actually you can really promote NMPT and actually keep your NAD levels up. Exercise, especially resistance training, is really good for keeping NAD levels. But then, that you can go actually find a shortcut, which is NMN, which is not about NAD. And we tested it. And we optimized then even more the bioavailability of NMN into the cells. We went actually to the point that you take a powder to optimize the granularity of the powder. Actually, under the tongue, there are some, and the window of the size of the NMN should really be right, actually, to be absorbed under the tongue. Here through the vessels that you have. And we will actually even to that point as part of the manufacturing process. NMN. That's why the bioavailability is not 100%, but it's 80-90%. It's between 3 and 4 times more than we take in NMN orally.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. So right from here till there, you have that sorted. Does your company produce it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one disclaimer. So, because we want to put it out there, How would you strategize somebody's exercise regime? Like, let's say, when it comes to cardiovascular health, when it comes to strength training, when it comes to, let's say, mobility or something like that. For the Indian population, or let's say for the Southeast Asian population, how would you prioritize it?
I would just say about I spent quite a lot of time with athletes because of the athlete biological passport. And I followed all this training regime that we in place. And there was this famous 5 zones of training that came about a lot of science. And again, me to absorb the science. And then working in the field of longevity, it was so great to see that actually the techniques that's when the best athletes are doing to be at the top. And if you like to tackle longevity, and when I mean longevity, again, more about health span, not about lifespan, maybe we can discuss a bit more about that.
Right.
But that's exactly the same approach that we have to do. And as part of the 5 zone of training, I'm a big fan of training in zone 2.
Yeah.
High volume, 40 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Something like this. Oh, that's even 10, 20 minutes. That's already have a good impact on fat metabolism.
Right.
And a few sessions where you really have to stress your body, more about the resistance training or intensity, go really hard. With this idea also, I do promote this concept of muscle failure. Muscle failure, if you can combine really high intensity exercise of muscle failure, and there are some tricks for that,
Right.
is I think one of the best biohacking we have.
Right. That's amazing. So great tools would be train your cardio to at least zone 2.
Yeah, zone 2, don't go for people, again, I see some people in the gym, treadmills, that's clearly zone 3 or zone 4.
Yeah.
And I see that, and and the tendency to go, I have to train more, I will lose weight. No, go easy, because the reaction of your body will induce chronic stress.
Correct.
On that. It's more doing zone 2, go in zone 2, go easy. Go easy, actually, when you do some endurance, go easy.
Right.
But then don't forget actually 2 or 3 times a week, depending on your the capacity to recover.
Yeah.
If you're a biohacker, you can do a bit more, but there are tricks actually how to recover on that. Polyphenols help a lot here, but it's typically twice a week. Yeah.
Twice a week. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. We always keep telling people not to, because, we have personal training solutions as part of our regime. And then we always come across individuals who's like, what, I didn't break a sweat or I didn't, feel that drained enough. And we keep telling them that that's not what we want. We don't want chronic stress in your life, because that's pro-aging. You want a dosed amount of stress in order for your body to adapt to that stress and get better and more efficient. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Again, the word stress is not well understood, because stress is good.
Wow.
I was in conference last year, and we're promoting stress.
Right.
But promoting stress in a way, it's not chronic stress.
Yeah.
Actually, exercise, which is the best biohack, is the highest stressor that I do know in your body. But it's only about stress, so there's the recovery from stress.
Right.
It's the best thing you can do for your body.
Right.
Stress it, and then recover from it. Anything, go bath. Actually, exposure to hyperbaric chamber, or play with lights. Play with many things.
Right.
Stress your body and then recover from it.
Right. And the second thing that you said was strength training, right?
Yeah.
I think that can personally be a game changer for the Indian population, so to speak, because, very high carbohydrates, very low muscle mass, where does the blood glucose go, right? So it's damaging everything, your body, your kidneys, your eyes, your nerves, everything, so to speak. So I think, by increasing, and that's what our study has been about, and that's what we're promoting at Odds, is that you increase muscle mass, and then you have a reservoir of blood glycogen. Yeah.
400 for glycogen.
Right.
In our blood, we have only 4 grams.
Right.
What 4 grams, what does it mean for people really to understand? 4 grams is a spoon. It's nothing.
Right.
It's a spoon. It's 4 grams. Look, actually, when you have here a Coke or whatever, you say, that 10 grams, let's say, and this means you can quadruple the amount of that we have only 4 grams in our blood.
Right.
110 times more in your muscles.
Right.
100 in the liver. And 100.
Right.
Get some muscle.
That would fix.
Yeah.
All India wouldn't be diabetic capital if we just resolve something like that.
And I agree completely. And that's why also this concept of muscle failure is critical, because it's well known that when you do muscle failure, the depletion of glycogen, you have your reservoir, but you have to empty it.
Right.
But how to empty? If you do endurance, we have to do during 2 hours. You can do that in 2 minutes.
Correct.
2 minutes, actually, resistance training.
Correct.
But you really have to come to muscle failure. It's not the first reps, typically, of your gym, the first 8, 9.
Right.
The last one, it's so difficult here. The glycogen.
Right.
Increase big time,
Right. So, Sottas, could you also educate our audience about the difference between health span and lifespan? I've obviously addressed it before, but I always like getting new insights on the same topic. It's obviously because you come from a different country altogether. So what does it mean to you personally with your experiences?
Yeah, again, I think it's critical to understand the difference between the two. And I always say that longevity is not about adding years to life, but adding life to years. And just this simple sentence actually behind, you have this concept of healthspan. That's how many health years we have compared to lifespan, how many years itself. But it can be actually bad years. And we know that there currently, also in India, the gap between healthspan and lifespan is increasing because there are more and more people who are sick. And this means for them, that's a large burden for them. That's why longevity is about increasing healthspan, new health years. And I still believe that if we increase healthspan, then lifespan will increase as well. But not as a primary goal. Primary goal is to increase healthspan.
Right. And of course, if you address healthspan, you sort of reduce the chances of slow death, right? Yeah. Which is through chronic disease, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, etc. Where you've got a band-aid approach, you're trying to fix something. And just recently, I had this really bad bout of stomach flu. And I thought that, how badly it impacted my ability to actually allocate my mental faculties to my work, So I think a lot of people need to know how important it is to not have disease, to be able to commit to other things, whether it's your family or your, purpose, whatever it is, whether it's your work. I think the key is healthspan. That's one answer that I can definitely, conclude on with all my conversations with you or Dr. Sachdeva or any other doctor for that matter. Yeah,
to prevent diseases and to keep health years. Yes, and that's critical. Yes, but now if you look again, I insist on the fact that these decades, I have a PhD in AI, but I always say this decade is not the decade of artificial intelligence, but the decade of healthcare. Right. And with longevity, what the main driver, for sure the digital health that's coming, there is also all this AI that's helped in the background, but more than an enabler. And if we increase healthspan, we increase lifespan. And it's not by chance that last year, for the first time in mice, we had some mice that lived more than equivalent human age, 150, with the goal to increase healthspan. But lifespan came.
Was fasting a part of that protocol on mice?
No, it was not about fasting here. By the way, we may be one of the very first company that's we've launched a clinical trial that we want to reverse aging in humans. It's very smart technique as well done in these mice last year, and that's a study between the UK and Switzerland. Yes,
right.
It's more that's the technology that involved. We really play on the aging of the cells, not through the famous Yamanaka factors. And maybe I have to explain to you this one Yamanaka factor.
Yeah, please do.
That's
me as well.
Okay, that's I would say that's our cells do die,
right,
and do die pretty actually rapidly. I was amazed because that's if you look at the age of a protein, it's a few days. If you look at the cells, it can be some fluctuation, let's say 2 months, like this. An organ, a few years.
Right.
Our human body, 80 years.
Decades,
and decades, like this. But there's this scale, and this means cells themselves, they do die, and there are some we produce continuously, billions and billions of new stem cells coming from the bone marrow. And that takes some time to differentiate to become what's called functional somatic cells.
Right.
And that's part of life. Like also our body, we have the 3 phases of life, which was to grow, we have to reproduce, and we have to die. The cells is about the same, and the cells have to die. There's some processes called apoptosis that make the cells die, but sometimes that doesn't work, and they become zombie cells, we call them senescent cells.
Right.
And there. And now, because coming back to these Yamanaka factors, that's all these cells do differentiate, because at the beginning, they are close to all very similar. Maybe it's simplistic what I say, but very similar, and with their differentiation in somatic cells and functional cells. And Dr. Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize for that. He notified these 4 factors that end this differentiation. And now at the process of epigenetic programming, a lot of researchers and companies try to play on these factors to rejuvenate the cells. I think there is a kind of shortcut to rejuvenate the cells. When you understand how it's happening, it's about actually cellular intercommunication.
Right.
Yes. And It's also a question of skill. Maybe my background of physics here did help because also again, okay, why my left hand is aging the same thing in my right hand? There's kind of symmetry. And this symmetry, in physics, there's a symmetry, that there's a rule. If we have a symmetry in space and time, there's a conservation of energy. You have these kind of things.
Right.
So why is this? This means there is a signal. And this signal in the body is given by extracellular vesicles. Our cells to produce continuously very high number of extracellular vesicles. There's some vesicles, some small ones, and the very small ones called exosomes. Exosomes are very well known for anti-aging.
Yeah.
But I think people don't understand why the exosomes are working, why the stem cells are working. We do some injection, and we believe there's a shortcut to that when we do understand here that we can actually reverse aging of the cells systematically.
Right.
And that's one of the clinical trials that we've just started 2 months ago in UK and Switzerland.
Right. So could you mention a couple of variables of the study in the sense that what are you...
That's what we do measure. Okay. I'm that guy, so we do measure a lot.
Yeah.
But I would focus on one is famous biological age.
Right.
Biological age, difference between chronological age and biological age.
Got it.
And chronological is so easy. Okay, I have my passport. I was born at that date. And then difference between the two. So easy.
Right.
And biological age is something that's more malleable, that can be changed. And even big time. Just for story, last year, I really optimized myself. My biological age was 20 years less than my chronological age.
Right.
But this last year, because pretty busy with my new company, to travel a lot,
Right.
a lot of stress, less sleep,
Right.
less opportunity to optimize everything. I lost 11 years in 6 months.
Wow. Wow.
Still actually close to 10 years less than my chronological age, but
Right.
just that it's not about, it's just about, yes, we can play a bit with that.
Right.
And this means your lifespan can really, really have a huge impact on that. And it's well known that some people do age faster than others.
Right.
And here just to mean actually to understand with objectivity, there are different means actually to calculate biological age. Epigenetics is one of those.
Right.
I'm more a big fan when we trigger on what's called the phenotype.
Right.
We can calculate actually biological age on phenotype or metabolites,
Right.
actually results of metabolism. But as part of this study, coming back to your question, yes, we do measure a lot.
Any other things that you measured? Of course, you must have, but maybe a couple of other things that you...
Yeah. Markers of inflammation and a lot of things, yes.
Right. And could you tell our audience what the independent variables were when you were comparing? Did you do a test, like an A/B test on rats who were exposed to certain kind of, treatments, etc., or you just studied them?
You said rats. It's a study in humans. We do really in humans.
You said mice.
No. The mice was the study done last year. We did human beings. That's really human beings. Here we do reverse aging in human beings.
Right.
Yes, that we do. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
No. Sorry, that's really in human beings. Yes,
Right.
mice was study done last year.
So
Not by us, by the way, but very great group.
Right.
Really great study we
Right.
did.
Right.
And us is really about this kind of shortcut. We believe that we can play with the age of the cells, playing with.
Yeah. So my question was exactly this:
Yeah.
that when it was mice,
Yeah.
what were the independent variables? What is it that you were testing as opposed to a tested group and a group that was exposed to those, let's say, treatments or the things that you're talking about, which would reduce or at least slow down aging as compared to the group which you were, trying to compare it with?
Yes, that's clearly we have a control group as part of a study, and yes, the primary goal is to decrease biological age. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are the methods that you use to do that?
Here we have epigenetics. We have what's called pheno-age.
Right.
And other means. Yes. We do hundreds of tests.
Right. Right.
People.
Right. Could you tell us what are the things that, the interventions that was there in the control group and the other group that you're talking about?
Yeah, so the part of the intervention, sure, always I get the basics right. So we have coaches that monitor these people. We do have supplements. We do have interventions. And as part of one, yes, as mentioned about playing with extracellular vesicles. And the control group is someone is controlled with coaches, but without any interventions.
Right. And then I'm assuming these are the things that you played with: community, nutrition, exercise, all these things were involved in the part of this protocol?
Yes, that's every subject has three coaching sessions as part of the trial.
Right.
And regularly we do follow them. And yes, that's coaching about these 5 pillars of longevity.
Wow, amazing. Okay, given your background in AI, how do you see AI evolving in the field of biomarker analysis and personalized medicine?
Yeah, that's and it's a little bit of my frustration when I did my PhD, because I always said my algorithm was so great, but even I had the chance to use a supercomputer at that time, I don't have the data at that time. And again, we have to understand here is that's what is missing on the data. That's also pretty rapidly, despite a background in AI, I rapidly switched to how to get good quality data.
Right.
And in here, that's why working in labs. Okay, I spend a lot of time in the laboratories and how to get data on our body, blood especially, because blood is a treasure trove of biomarkers. And I think that's still, there's so much to do, actually, to get the right data.
Right.
With this famous field of omics, which means metabolomics, proteomics, genomics.
Right.
And here, especially in the field of longevity.
Right.
Like here, we still much to do. That's get the data, and there's still some big projects that are coming here. And there are some companies, not only in the academic world, but some companies that are really measuring this data. And when you have the data, okay, big data on people, but then also large number of people. And
Right.
there's a kind of critical size of people that you need. It's you cannot do studies with 1,000 people here.
Yeah.
If you really want actually to, I would say, decipher the complexity of human beings, you
Right.
need the millions.
Right. And India would be a great place for that.
Oh, India is the wonderful place for that,
Right.
yes. But again, you have to be careful because there are some bias associated to a country. For example, if you develop a biological age in Switzerland, you do one in United States, the Swiss population is healthier than the American population.
Yeah.
So if you use it as a baseline, you have a bias.
Right.
You have a bias between the two.
Right.
So be careful with that.
Right. And of course, with the, let's say, data, then comes the entire thing. Like, let's say, even if you're working with laboratories who already have the data, then you have ethical and privacy related concerns as well. So I'm understanding the kind of resistance that you might have. Okay. So also, could you stress upon the fact that why is it that one must address inflammation? Because I think people misunderstand inflammation as I don't know, they actually are not able to comprehend exactly what inflammation means. People think, okay, I'm fine. I doubt I have any inflammation. Speaking to earlier, one of my inflammatory markers were elevated, right?
Yeah.
And I have no clue about it.
Yeah.
Right? But I can always see certain symptoms, signs with my psoriasis and everything. Could you explain what exactly is inflammation and how detrimental would it be in the long term for health?
Yes, I'm not sure I'm the I think part of my team, there are some people way more, I would say, way more expertise in the field of inflammation. I would say that's, yes, this word inflammation, something is not well understood. I will actually look at the big picture, not in the details, because it's not my field of expertise. The thing is, talking about inflammation, the one that I do spend quite some time is about inflammaging. Is that all actually inflammation is coming from, in particular, I mentioned these senescent cells. And here they create really some inflammation in the body, which is actually one of the main drivers why you may have chronic diseases. And I personally like very much this hypothesis as here, is that the more senescence you have, the more inflammation you have, and the more at the end inflammation is triggering diseases. And I would take maybe one example, which is atherosclerosis and the risk of cardiovascular disease. I'm really not a big fan of the cholesterol hypothesis here.
That's changing very fast.
That is changing,
right?
Hopefully very fast, and more actually a fan of, yes, that's all your endothelial cells become inflamed.
Right.
Really, again, what's been inflamed at that level.
Right.
I can mention about some great work like glycocalyx. I love to mention that word because this really protects your cell or the endothelium from inflammation. But if you get rid of it, especially if you have huge spike of glucose multi times a day, that probably a lot of here in the Indian population do have, you create this inflammation, which is then a trigger of diseases. Yes.
Right. And as we were talking earlier, I would also want our audience to know about insulin versus mTOR, on cancer, right? Because cancer is one of the major lifestyle diseases which are taking a lot of lives in all over the world, actually. So carbohydrates versus proteins, what should one stick to if, one wants to prevent themselves from, let's say, cancer-related tendencies?
Yeah, I think you said right before is that I always said that, okay, I had the chance to meet great people, Nobel Prizes in my life, but my best mentor teacher was my grandmother, was telling me, and that's we're preparing the food for my grandfather according actually to amount of exercise my grandfather had. They were farmers. And that's for me, there is something behind here about the culture is that if you do exercise, you deplete your glycogen, you can actually have your carbohydrates.
Right.
And actually, if you don't do much exercise, okay, go really decrease, go keto, like this. And about the storage here. That's again a simplistic view, but sometimes it's good to have simple things and simple message to bring to people here. Again, now specifically about mTOR. Sure, that's, as part when you look at all these pathways involved in the field of longevity, mTOR is a big importance because that's, again, as part of the 3 phases of life. First, we have to grow. Yes, mTOR is there. And then we have to reproduce. mTOR decreases. But then, to have mTOR activated when we are old is not a good thing. And that's how you actually minimize the impact on, you inhibit mTOR. There, and to find the good, I would say, compromise between not losing too much muscle mass, something, by the way, I did recently because I'm using rapamycin.
Right.
I'm one pretty early adopter of rapamycin.
If I may interrupt there, how would you deal with the immunosuppressive effects of rapamycin?
Yes, I think this one is a bit, I would say, over... I was one of the participants of the famous study on studying actually the adverse effects of, I was on the volunteer of that study.
Right.
And personalized zero
immunosuppressive effects?
Yes, yes. And again, because the way it's done, it's not something you take constantly over time. You do cycle here.
Yeah,
and this means
because that's when you're working with mTOR complex 1 and not triggering mTOR complex 2.
Yes,
and that's the game-changing aspect of rapamycin, where you can, if you dose it infrequently, then the complex 1 is what you want to inhibit. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So yes, coming back about the effect on insulin on mTOR, sure, it's a huge one. We can mention about proteins do increase mTOR, but again about the effect size, again how much it does have impact. And again, if you have a lot of amount of proteins, but you still have a few, I would say, activate of another one, AMPK is an inhibitor of mTOR. It's a perfect combination. Yes.
Wow.
What you need on your plate: vegetables, actually something with some proteins, less carbs. It's good. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, those are amazing thoughts. Also, what I wanted to know was, what could be the key takeaway for our audience here, if you were to sum it up in terms of what are those 3-4 steps? Of course, you did mention the 5 pillars, right? What are the 3-4 steps that an Indian population can learn from, your experience, of course, that what can they do as a blanket approach? Because we also have a lot of people who are propagating a lot of fasting. Right? Yeah, which is great. Could be good for a lot of people, but also could be contraindicated in some individuals, right? And it's very individualized. Do you have a safer way to, let's say, okay, these are the things that everybody must do, and
that's I was another conference last year giving some tricks for actually very simple things that people can do. And the one I do love to mention is that wake up in the morning for the sunrise and be exposed to the sun. That's maybe the second best biohack I do know after exercise. Right. This one, and people don't understand why. And I would come back to nature, exposure to nature. The good reason why the wild animals actually are exposed in the morning, in the evening, and not in the day. thing like this. And then behind, there's a lot of thoughts about, exposure to things good is not good. But when you expose in the morning, just 5 minutes a day in the morning, actually when the sun is less than 25 degrees, you can even watch the sun. It's good. It's really good for you. It activates so many things. Actually normalize your circadian rhythm. Best biohack then to sleep good the night after. And most importantly, we discuss not about that. I'm a very, very big fan actually of to protect your mitochondrial function.
Right.
And this is a great biohack for your mitochondrial function.
Yeah.
Just 1.5 minutes of exposure to red light, infrared lights actually do activate your mitochondrial function. These actually, the rays of light do penetrate your body. They really do penetrate deep into your body, several centimeters, and do activate your mitochondria. They're very sensitive to red light.
Right.
And they really switch, boom, an activation.
Wow.
That's one of the biohack that I can do. Is that I do love. When I do travel sometimes, so now as part of the interventions, treatments that we do for xLongevity, for sure we have red light and infrared.
Yeah. Wow. Because what I usually do for my mitochondrial function is the zone 2 cardio that you spoke about.
Yeah.
So, I'll get some of that red light as well. How can our listeners be, let's say, stay informed about the developments of your community, your company, and your expertise as well? Is there a social media platform that you have?
Yes. I think that our website, xlongevity.com, is the best thing. But again, very young company, very ambitious.
Right.
We're really to empower people to take control of their health.
Right.
With this idea of longevity, again, not about increasing lifespan, but really empowering them, yes.
That's amazing. That's great insight.
Yes, more about, that's exercise in the Indian population, because again here, I spent the last 4 months here, not continuously, but heat is a huge issue. How do you train with outside? I have to promote exposure to, we promote exercise, promote exposure to nature,
Right.
but how it is actually, how you find tricks to go out.
Right.
When I'm here in Delhi, I'm never out. I never exposed to the sun. I get my red light as part of the treatment that we have there, but I'll do exercise. I go to the gym.
Right.
I would like to go outside.
Yeah, I think Delhi would be a little hostile like that.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is more specifically localized to parts of Delhi and around Delhi.
The big cities.
Yeah. That's also because Delhi is very polluted. Right, and you don't get that kind of sun here. That's why many people here are also deficient.
But even even in the north, in so many places in India in summer, it's 30 degrees.
Yeah,
you cannot go actually do some exercise. You would.
Right.
To the exercise, for me, the best is 20 degrees. Yeah.
Right.
And
right.
30. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also people don't have this motivation.
Right.
Here, that's why at the end it's quasi forced to go to the gym to do some exercise.
Right. It does. And that's why we, as Odds Fitness, we've come out with a solution where you have home personalized training, which is, training within your own comfort and space, because a lot of people don't want to go to the gym. They're coming from work. People here work 12, 15, 16 hours sometimes. And it's harder for them to, initiate going or activate themselves to go to the gym. So we have somebody coming over, that's easier. And in fact, you have to cancel class.
How many gyms do you have?
In Delhi?
Yes.
Odds Fitness?
Yes.
None.
Oh, you don't?
No, we only do personalized training.
It's only personalized training?
Yeah, only personalized training. Just home delivered.
Or you can actually promote zone 2 training. We focus on zone 2 in an environment which is at home. How do you actually do that?
So what we try and do is, we try to follow let's say you said, a couple of days in a week. We try to...
Is it biking?
No, not biking. No. So we want to make it more interesting.
Okay.
Right? And how we do that is we use things like dance or boxing, kickboxing, which also gives you the neurological benefits, right? And we mix that with cardio because, in Delhi, we see people, sometimes they're zone 1 on the treadmill, right? Which is okay, which is good. Because you're getting your steps in and everything. But we do promote zone 2 because we want that stress, right? Yeah. And we do that through interesting protocols like I said, dance and
Fancy.
boxing,
Great.
or HIIT protocols, which essentially take you up, sometimes zone 3, zone 4 as well, but very short duration.
Yeah.
So we do it measured,
Yeah.
and we do take in mind that, you should at least get 3 days a week of strength training, 2 days a week of cardio, and that adds up to about 150 minutes of zone 2.
Okay. 150 minutes.
150 minutes.
Yes, which is a good start.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
If everyone would do that, I can tell you the population would have.
right. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to add as value to OddsFitness. That's our regime. It's very hard to make people understand that, but they're getting there. And that's why we have these podcasts, so that we can essentially integrate that into somebody's life. Not in India specifically, in Delhi, it's really, really hard to sort of get exercise, outside exercise, because in the winters you have high pollution. During the rainy seasons, such as now, you have,
Water, rain.
You have water, you have rain, and also saturated with water vapor, right?
Okay.
So expiration, breathing becomes a little tougher, right? Because you want a certain level of oxygen, being absorbed in your body. So it's a little harder to breathe. And then summers, it's really hot. So essentially, you're just left with 2 months, which is about March to, May, that you can. So that's why Delhi as an environment is a little hostile when it comes to outdoor training. But what we try to do is we try and, give it home delivered, a service which is within your, and Delhi is not really walkable, right?
Yeah.
So we try and get them exercise at home itself. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. And that's promoting zone 2 at home the first time. But wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor, for coming to our podcast here. I know you've traveled really far to make it here, and I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot. And I think our viewers should get great insight from all the wonderful things that Pierre had to say about longevity, healthspan, and biohacking.